Okay, so I mentioned a couple of days ago that I was going to work on a pool evolution video for the second half of the 2.0. So here I am. As you can see, Yi Xuan and Astra banners are still available, but in a couple of hours, they're going to end, depending on the server that you're playing. For me, for example, 16 hours and 8 minutes, I am playing on the America server. Depending on when you're watching this video and where you're playing, Astra and Yi Xuan, my banner might be over already. So, before you end up spending your pools on something that is not going to give you a lot of value for your account, I highly recommend watching this video because I'll be talking a little bit about these units and if they're going to be the best pool for your account. Because each account is different, and I personally am pulling Fufu, just so you know. Yes, I'm pulling Fufu, but chances are she's not going to provide almost any value for you. So, in this video, we'll be talking about both Caesar and Fufu, and also we're going to be talking about their signature engines. So in case you're a little bit worried, in case you're looking to get the best value on your pools, we'll be talking about these. And of course, I have some numbers here. I always love to do some calculations and have something else to back me up. Listen, I know you're super excited for the season 2 of ZZZ 0, but hear me out a little bit. You like saving money, right? Who doesn't like it? That's where LD Shop comes in. LDShop.gg is a top-up platform that offers massive discounts on a lot of different games, including ZZZ 0. And the best part? All you need is your server and the UID and you're good to go. And the top-up process is super easy. All you need to do is select your server, then you type your UID, you pick up what you want to buy and press top up. You're going to get a confirmation detail page, make sure all your details are correct here, and then you can pay it. Then you go into the game and just wait a little bit, you're going to get your monochrome in a few seconds. It's that fast. There you go. And you know, the first time that you buy one of these monochrome packs, you get double the amount of monochromes. And LD Shop got you covered because buying on the platform triggers the double top-up bonus for you. If you spend more than $80 in a single month, you become a VIP, which gives you a $5 monthly coupon that can be used, for example, to get a free internet membership for you. And if you never use LD Shop, you can register your account using my link and you're going to get a 15 and a 5% coupon that can save you up to $50. Check the link down in the description and start saving money using LD Shop. Thanks LD Shop for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's first talk about Fufu, and in case you're a little bit out of the loop regarding Fufu and what she can provide for you, let me just show you a little bit of her kit right here. Yes, I still didn't start this event. I need to catch up on ZZZ 0, I know. But anyway, Fufu is going to be a kind of a stunner that is kind of going to compete for the same role as Trigger on your team, which is a stunner that is not going to compete for field time and allows your DPS to stay on the field, dealing a lot of damage. So as long as you're playing someone that benefits from staying on the field, such as Yi Xuan, for example, allows your DPS to stay on the field, dealing damage, and you can also get access to a lot of days without losing field time on your main DPS. And despite being a fire stunner, no, she's not competing in any way against Lighter. Lighter is a real specialized unit, which pretty much just focuses on buffing ice and fire characters. Okay, the value Lighter can provide for any fire and ice DPS is pretty much unique, but still, Lighter takes a little more field time when compared to Fufu or even Trigger, for example. As long as you're playing a sustained DPS that wants to stay on the field, Fufu is a really interesting choice, and she's going to compete with Trigger. Now, what's the problem with Fufu? Why everyone keeps saying that Fufu is meh and you should probably skip? The problem here is that Fufu is going to provide a lot of generic buffs. You see, she's generic on everything. Everything that you can think about, she's really generic. She's going to provide crit damage for you, okay, but there's like you can get access right now using King of the Summit. You see, she's going to provide crit damage for you, and you still need to stack like a lot of attack if you want to maximize this crit damage buff. She's going to provide some decibel generation. Now, this is kind of unique. You don't have access to this anywhere. But that's pretty much everything. You also get some chain attack and ultimate damage, but who's exactly is going to benefit from this? If you're going to use Soldier 0, for example, you don't use that much of chain damage and ultimate damage here, despite being part of her damage. You see, you still use a lot of the crit damage, but chain and ultimate damage, who's exactly going to use this? Well, Yi Xuan, of course, she's going to benefit from all of these stats, but outside of Yi Xuan, who else can use this? Well, not so many units. Maybe Evelyn, but then Evelyn has access to Lighter, which Lighter is going to provide more interesting buffs than Fufu. But at the same time, the fact that Fufu gets access to flat impact here, it allows for some interesting build changes. For example, you can just go for attack disc 6, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. And also she gets crit rate on core A, C, and E, which is a little bit And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that she gets crit rate, because yes, this means that it's easier for you to activate, for example, 4-piece King of the Summit, but is King of the Summit really the best option for her, especially when she's already providing like 50% crit damage, assuming you can maximize this core effect? So you see, a lot of weird things is happening on Fufu, which makes her a really general stunner, but the buffs she provides is so general as well, and it's really easy for you to kind of saturate things, you see, get a lot of these, and finding value in some other things, which Trigger, for example, provide, which is the stun damage multiplier. Fufu has no access to this unless you decide to go for Mindscapes, which in this case is going to be Mindscape 1. So now let's talk a little bit about numbers, because I think that is like really important to showcase a little bit of the potential. So I have 3 different things right here. I have Yi Xuan, Astra Yao, and Fufu, Yi Xuan, Pan Yinhu, and Fufu, and Yi Xuan, Pan Yinhu, and Astra Yao, which is probably the thing that you're running right now. I've seen like a lot of different players saying that, oh, Yi Xuan, Pan Yinhu, and Fufu is going to be the best team because Pan Yinhu provides flat shear force, which is better than Astra, which just provides you with attack, which is not going to be nowhere near close to Pan Yinhu shear force potential. But you're completely wrong, actually. Despite the fact that he provides shear force, this is pretty much everything that Pan Yinhu is going to provide for you, because Astra is going to provide you with crit damage, damage itself, and the attack, which becomes shear force. Okay, and not to mention the fact that Astra can provide you with extra chain attacks thanks to her ultimate. Astra also deals a lot of damage, okay, and Fufu can increase this even further. If you decide to go for a full chain attack and use Astra Yao chain attack and ultimate, for example, during the stun window, you can expect a lot of damage coming out from Astra Yao. Meanwhile, Pan Yinhu has a really slow chain attack, but there are a lot of different things that are a little bit hard for you to factor on a spreadsheet. These things being, for example, Fufu extra decibel generation. It's really hard for you to calculate this. Depending on how you're using Astra Yao ultimate as well, it could mean that you're getting like more value from Fufu extra damage on the chain attacks, assuming you're using your chain attacks on Yi Xuan, and a lot of other things that can happen. But I think that the most important thing that you need to keep in mind is that comparing Pan Yinhu Astra Yao to Astra Yao Fufu, you're not going to get a lot of damage difference. And this might be seen enough for you to just simply decide to skip Fufu. But please keep in mind that you're losing like a lot of this potential by going with Pan Yinhu Astra Yao instead of Astra Yao Fufu. The days Fufu provides is really interesting. So of course, faster stun windows means faster damage for you. And you can notice this, for example, by taking a look on Apel video right here, the team showcase that Apel always do when it comes to new characters. I was planning to work on one of those videos. I just didn't have a lot of time, so I couldn't work. But I highly recommend checking out the Apel video. I'm going to leave a link down in the description so you can check this full video for you later. But basically, you can see right here that Astra Yao, Pan Yinhu, and Yi Xuan is going to perform even worse than Pan Yinhu Fufu, and Fufu Astra it can perform even better than Pan Yinhu Fufu. And the reason for this, once again, is because Astra provides extra chain. Astra deals a lot of damage herself. This allows for some interesting damage potential on all of these units. But another thing that I want to talk about Fufu is the fact that she has access to some huge flexibility on her builds. This is the same one that I used before. Okay, we have King of the Summit with Woodpecker Electro, but if you decided to go for a more damage focused build, you can notice that the Fufu damage increases, okay, because Astra Yao is also going to provide some increased damage potential for Fufu. But the problem here is that you're losing like a lot of this potential. Now, one thing that is always important to keep in mind when it comes to using impact on slot 6 or not is, if impact is providing you an extra stun window, then it's always good for you to run impact, because one extra stun window means that you have access to one extra burst of damage of Yi Xuan, for example. But if impact's not making a difference at all, then this means that just going for attack is going to be better. Okay, so if you decide to go for attack because impact's not providing you one extra damage, you can see that you're going to get a little bit of damage increase. You still lose a lot of days. But I think that the most important build change right here is using Swing Jazz instead of King of the Summit for a piece effect. And the reason for this is simply because Fufu has access to a chain attack whenever she has enough might. So you see this one right here, it's a chain attack, and this can trigger, of course, Swing Jazz. It allows Fufu to keep this with 100% uptime during the whole fight. And you can see here that the damage difference between King of the Summit and Swing Jazz is like quite small, actually. Because yes, King of the Summit is going to provide 30% crit damage, which is like better than 15% damage on Swing Jazz, especially depending on the units that you're using. But The fact that this allows for some flexibility on the build is like really good. You don't need to worry that much, for example, about going for 50% crit rate. No, you can just stack a lot of attack, and instead of using King of the Summit to give extra crit damage for Yi Xuan, you just use Fufu core effect, which gives you 50% crit damage for your whole squad. So it's like really good, and you also get access to more damage, some extra energy regeneration, which means more EX special. And this whole idea came from a video from a Japanese YouTuber. This is the video they talk a little bit about Fufu. I'm going to leave the link down in the description as well. But Kete also talked about this thing and showcased a little bit of the performance of this thing. So I'm going to leave both links down in the description. Okay, this is completely in Japanese. If you don't fully understand the Japanese, then it's going to be harder for you to understand, just so you know. I think that the most important thing that you need to keep in mind when it comes to this thing composition is the fact that you're running 2 stunners. It means a lot of this potential. Take a look at this. This is like Fufu with Astra Yao. When you compare this to Qingyi and Fufu, look at how much extra days you can actually achieve. You see, and depending on the weapon that you're using on Fufu, you don't even lose that much damage. And you get access to like almost double the amount of days. This is like a lot of stun windows. You can see here that, for example, Qingyi is using a really damage-focused build with crit rate and King of the Summit, and because of this, Fufu can simply go straight up to swing Jazz and focus on getting a lot of attack. You don't need to worry about hitting the 50% crit rate on King of the Summit anymore. Okay, so it's a really interesting approach. I really like this thing, the idea behind this, but I wouldn't recommend you pulling Fufu just because of the team composition. Actually, if you own Qingyi, I would say that Fufu is actually probably a skip for you, unless you're really looking forward to invest on your Yi Xuan teams. Okay, so for example, take a look here on Soldier Zero. And the thing is that Soldier Zero has like the best in slot stunner, which is Trigger. And despite the fact that this chain attack that Fufu has access to is an aftershock, you're still not going to get like a lot of value on Soldier Zero teams. Okay, take a look right here, for example. Have Trigger and Astra Yao, but the moment that you replace Trigger with Fufu, even with her signature engine, you're going to lose damage. Daze potential is somewhat okay-ish, but you lose access to damage, because Fufu is just going to provide like general buffs. Meanwhile, Trigger, with her signature, can provide you with defense shred and also access to a lot of aftershocks. And a lot of aftershocks means that Soldier MB crit damage that is applied on all units aftershocks is going to be really, really good. Not to mention that you're going to be Trigger focusing a lot of crit rate. So this means that Soldier MB crit damage that King of the Summit can provide is going to be doubled down by Trigger, because this means Trigger is going to provide even more interesting damage potential. So at the end, this means that basically Trigger is going to be like still going to be the best option for Soldier MB and pretty much for any team composition, because Trigger with her signature gives you access to stun damage multiplier, defense shred, and of course a lot of this potential, not to mention the damage that herself is going to provide, especially if you're pairing her with Soldier MB. If you decide to use double stunner teams, just as I mentioned with Yi Xuan, you're going to notice that once again, you get a lot of this potential, but take a look on how much damage you're losing. Of course, if you can translate this faster stun windows to a lot of damage, then it's kind of whatever, but it's something that is hard to just measure here on spreadsheets. And as I said, I didn't have a lot of time to run tests on the creator server to give you some extra examples on how good is double stunner teams with Fufu. So basically the TLDR when it comes to Fufu is she's a really interesting unit that has a lot of flexibility in terms of teams, also know how you can approach her build. But the problem is that her buffs are so generic that she always feels like a side grade or even a worst option when compared to any other team that already uses like Qingyi or Trigger, or even Lighter, for example. Lighter, there's no way Fufu can actually replace Lighter on any of these team compositions, okay? She's going to feel like a side grade on everywhere, and the only place Fufu actually finds a lot of value right now is if you're playing Yi Xuan. This is like the only DPS that actually fully benefits from Fufu and can get a lot of value from her. Outside of this, not a lot of places for you to use Fufu. If you don't own Qingyi and Trigger, for example, which is my case, when it's the reason on why I'm going to be pulling Fufu, then Fufu might be a good option for you. If you're really looking to squeeze the maximum potential of your Yi Xuan, then yes, Fufu is going to be an interesting option for you. Do you need this? No, you don't, because there are, for example, Astra Nicole can still be a real interesting option for your Yi Xuan. You see that there's still like Astra with Panyihu. There are a lot of other possible options without Fufu on your account. And when it comes to Fufu signature, honestly, just skip it. Because if you take a look here, actually Fufu with a single stack of Hellfire Gears can give you higher damage potential. Yes, you're going to lose some damage, but you can, for example, simply remove some of the impact potential right here, run triple attack on your Fufu, and look at this. You're going to get like a little bit less daze potential. You're still going to get a little bit less of damage potential on your whole team composition. It's simply not worth it for you going for your Fufu signature, because at the end of the day, it's a signature engine that is only going to provide you attack on the secondary stat. It's not even going to provide impact, which restrained and hellfire gears, for example, which is like in standard engines they are going to provide. If you take a look here, even restrained works on Fufu because of the fact that Hui, it's a basic attack, you know, just stack a lot of attack and try to get crit rolls on your substats so you can activate King of the Summit. You can also simply decide to not go for King of the Summit. Of course, as I said, Fufu has access to a lot of flexibility when it comes to builds, and just swap this one, for example, for impact, and instead go for swing jazz with King of the Summit. Is going to work and provide better daze potential. However, you'll be losing some of the crit damage that King of the Summit can provide for you. It's just about how you want to approach best discs that you can find and things like this, okay? Think about it just like Astra Yao. It is a good option, yes it is, but at the end of the day, it's not worth your pulls. They're like better signature engines, and not to mention that one really huge problem when it comes to Fufu signature, for me personally, is the fact that it is a really restrictive engine. When using a chain attack or ultimate to deal fire damage, who the hell uses chain attack and ultimate to deal fire damage? This will be Lighter and Koleda. Okay, is it worth it for you using this, which is like an attacker engine? It's not even an impact engine. Lighter needs the impact, so it's bad for Lighter. Koleda can use it, maybe. Why the hell are you using the attack? Are you going to like try to deal DPS with your Koleda or something? It's simply not worth it, okay? It's one of the, once again, restrictive engines, just like Trigger Signature, for example. But I feel that this is even worse because Trigger Signature, at the very least, is providing with Defense Shred, which is a really unique thing to have. JFU is only going to provide you with extra damage, so honestly, not worth it, okay? And the second unit that we'll be running alongside JFU is going to be Caesar. And Caesar is quite interesting because she's the best unit on not being the best unit. And it hurts me a little bit to say this, like, not gonna lie. Don't mind the build, I'm not using anything on my Caesar, okay? But the thing about Caesar is that I actually made a video talking about all the points regarding Caesar and why I think she deserves a little bit of a rework, okay? Because I know what you're thinking. Oh, but Caesar provides attack, Caesar provides increased damage, Caesar provides stun potential, Caesar provides protection. Yes, she provides a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, it's simply not good enough to justify pulling a unit, okay? Because there's a lot of different things. Okay, first things first, she's going to be a little bit of a stunner agent because of the fact that she gets access to impact. Okay, so at the end, she can provide, okay, some increased utility. For example, I can just equip any stunner engine, and there you go. You're going to see here that I can get access to some extra impact. And her gameplay loop is super simple. You just swap to her during enemy attack, use the defense assist. After the assist follow-up, you just press EX special. You're going to consume 20 energy, and you're going to trigger another burst of daze on the enemy. And I was going to provide 1000 attack buff. Okay, cool. But the main problem regarding Caesar, okay, I just going to do a TLDR of my video that I talked about all of these points regarding Caesar, is that first, she's a defender unit. And defender units has no access to good engines. The only really good option when it comes to weapons is pulling Caesar's signature. So this means that not only you need to pull Caesar, you also need to pull Caesar's signature, okay? Another problem when it comes to being a defender unit, who can get good synergies from defender units out of all these options when it comes to DPS? Okay, let's take a look here. Miyabi simply need a support unit. You could run Burnies because of faction. You can't run Harumasa, for example, with Caesar unless you're running a stunner agent alongside Caesar. G1 requires a support unit or a same attribute. Wait, a faction, right? Is it a faction or support character? Yeah. There are not a lot of units that can actually fully utilize Caesar, and even if you find a unit that can actually use Caesar, you're always going to find a better unit somewhere else. So let's say, for example, Caesar is like a bit of support and stun agent all in the same slot. Okay, cool. But the problem is that if you compare her to Astra, Astra is simply going to overpower her. If you compare her to Lucy, Lucy is actually better than Caesar on most situations. Why? Because Lucy has access to support engines. Lucy has access, for example, to Kaboom the Cannon, which provides a lot of attack. And they might be thinking, okay, but 600 attack is less than 1000. Yes, but when you sum up with the fact that Lucy is providing damage herself and also increasing the attack thanks to her signature engine, this just means that Lucy is going to perform even better than Caesar. All support and stunner units, they got huge buffs because of the changes on how ultimate works. Okay, because stunner agents right now, they can just press ultimate, and look at this, look at the days multiplier. This is level 7 skill on my Coleda, and look at the days multiplier. MB, take a look on the days multiplier, 1400 days multiplier. Okay, cool. Now let's take a look on Caesar. I don't even know what to say. Days multiplier, 393%. This is a joke. It is an ultimate to deal damage, but when you come to think about the fact that this is an ultimate to deal damage that takes like 3.5 seconds, it is a complete joke. Take a look on Lucy, for example. Look at the damage potential. There's like more than 4,000 damage multiplier, so not to mention that it's also going to give energy for the next agent that takes the field. So at the end of the day, Caesar just lost a lot of value thanks to the changes on the ultimates. It just feels sad for Caesar because everything that the game keeps releasing keeps reducing Caesar value. You can just swap Miyabi away when you're using her enhanced base attack. Take a look on Bernice, for example. Bernice just keeps dealing damage even when she's outside of the field. Take a look on, for example, Evelyn. Evelyn wants you to keep swapping away during her chain attack animation. The moment you swap these units away, you're not using Caesar attack buff, because Caesar attack buff only stays on the unit that you're controlling. Okay, but take a look on this thing right here. Okay, we have Yi Xuan, Caesar, and Astra Yao, and take a look at this. If you decide to use Caesar with Restrained, for example, which is like a basic free-to-play option, a stunner agent, just for the extra impact. Okay, let's compare using Restrained against Caesar's signature. Are you going to pull Caesar's signature just because it gives you a 6% days damage increase for your Yi Xuan? Is that it? Is this like really worth it? And when you come to think about it, like look at this. Look at this. The fact that Lucy can provide better damage potential than using Caesar is already something. Caesar is at the very least providing you with days potential. And this just gets even worse if you decided to use an attacker unit that actually scales on attack. Because take a look on these 3 different teams that I'm using right here. We're using Yi Xuan Qingyi, and then we are comparing Lucy with Caesar. And in 2 different scenarios, I have Caesar with her signature engine and Caesar without her signature engine. Take a look on this. Caesar with her signature engine actually can't hit the same damage potential of Lucy. And the reason for this is quite simple. Once again, we don't have access to a good ultimate on Caesar. If we decide to use Caesar ultimate, you're just basically wasting your damage on Yi Xuan. Okay, we don't want this because it's 3.5 seconds that you're going to be using Caesar ultimate to not even deal proper damage that you could be dealing with Yi Xuan. So it's not worth it. Lucy, on the other hand, has a fast ultimate, fast EX specials, and allows you to swap back into Yi Xuan in the middle of quick swaps animations. So there's no chance you're like going to lose this damage potential. Meanwhile, Yi Xuan, if you decide to do quick swaps at the middle of the last shot animation or her EX special, for example, you're just losing damage. And then you're going to swap for Caesar for what exactly? You see, so because of this, if you decided to not use your Caesar engine, it just gets even worse. Like, yes, you're getting access to some extra days, but if this extra days doesn't translate to more in damage at the end of the day, it's pointless. Let's say that instead of replacing the support unit, you're now trying to replace Qingyi. Okay, now let's compare this one with these last 2 right here. Take a look on this one. Qingyi provides better days potential than using Caesar as a stunner. That's it. If you go for Astra and Caesar Yi Xuan, you're actually not going to be activating Caesar additional ability because both Astra and Yi Xuan, they have evasive assists. Okay, so you need to use Lucy in case you're looking to activate Caesar additional ability. And even so, look at this. You're losing 20% days potential and losing 18% damage potential when compared to just using Qingyi. So at the end of the day, it just feels really weird for you to try to decide to pull Caesar on the current situation. Like, Caesar is super flexible. I can't deny this. It is a valid point. Okay, you want a unit that can fit on a lot of different things, but not being the best, it is good. The problem here is that if you take a look, for example, on Trigger with her signature engine, okay, this is like one limited pull for your agent and 1 limited pull for the engine. You're going to get like lot of days potential, even better than Caesar. You're going to get access to some unique damage multipliers, which is reducing the enemy defense. So like it feels so weird to pull Caesar, and I keep seeing a lot of players thinking that her additional ability is damage taking. It is not. It's just damage. It's just damage. Okay, this is additive with all other damage sources such as Astral Voice, Swing Jazz, damage on different unit skits. It's just additive. Okay, and speaking of Astral Voice, Caesar still feels so bad because you can't use, for example, Astral Voice on your Caesar because you have no access to Quick Assist on your Caesar. So unless you're like using another set on another unit and then you have access to Quick Assist somewhere on your whole squad, then it feels weird to use Astral Voice, you know? You can't use King of the Summit, which is a new best set for pretty much any stunner, I would say, because Caesar is a defender unit. It just feels bad. Caesar definitely needs a rework. Caesar needs to get access to better options when it comes to weapons, when it comes to disc sets, because overall, it just feels that Caesar is still stuck in 1.2 and we are in the 2.0 right now. Unless it's a waifu pull, I wouldn't recommend pulling Caesar at all. Her engine, on the other hand, is quite interesting because as of now, we're getting like access, we're getting Paninhu. And if you're playing Paninhu with your Caesar, with Yi Xuan, and if you plan to keep using Paninhu, then Caesar signature engine is quite interesting and probably the best option for you because it gives you a lot of utility for Paninhu, for example. But the point is you need to play defenders. But this is like the only unit that is going to use Caesar signature properly outside of Caesar herself. So honestly, I wouldn't pull Caesar. I wouldn't pull her signature unless you really enjoy Paninhu or Caesar and you're looking to increase their potential. Because outside of this, it's simply not worth it. Instead, save your pulls for 2.1 because we're getting a limited support agent once again in the 2.1. Right now we have the Astra running, still running probably depending on when you're watching this video. Yuzuha is releasing in the 2.1 and she's a physical limited support unit. And support units in general, they are really good because of one, team synergies, okay? You can activate a lot of additional abilities by using support units. Two, support units allows even bad DPS units to have some chance and clear in the endgame content. So TLDR once again, if you own good stun agents such as Chingy or Trigger, you don't need Jifufu. And even if you pull Jifufu, if you're planning to invest in your Jifufu, go for Mindscape 1 instead of investing on her engine. It's simply not worth it. About Caesar, please don't. It's not worth it, okay? It's simply not worth it unless you really like the character, okay? Yes, she can do everything, but as I said, she's the best on not being the best on everything that she tries to do. If you're fine with this, if you still think that she can provide something for your account, go for it, but I don't think she provides a good value for any team composition right now. The only argument for you, if you plan to pull Caesar, is one, you really want a really flexible unit that can't be the best unit anywhere, and two, you enjoy the comfort she can provide with her shield. Because it allows you to take some extra hit, it allows you to make mistakes and not being completely punished for it. If you're looking to a good support unit, just pull a support unit. If you're looking to a good stunner unit, pull a stunner unit. Caesar is not the best stunner, Caesar is not the best support unit, and if you're looking to get better utility on Caesar, you need to pull her signature engine. Depending on the reruns as well, I personally expect to get a Miyabi rerun on the 2.1. So if you don't own Miyabi because you started playing late or something, or you just decided to skip before and now you want Miyabi, Miyabi has a high chance of rerunning on 2.1, maybe on 2.2, because of course all the previous units pretty much already rerun. So Miyabi is the next one, let's say, in the sequence. And there's also the chance, there's also the fact that we're getting like Alice as an anomaly unit on the 2.1. And they usually like to provide you with something that competes with the character on the opposite banner. So let's say, for example, they are running Alice on the second half. This means that they are probably going to provide you with an anomaly unit on the first half, a rerun of an anomaly unit. And this would mean either Miyabi or Yanagi. So keep this in mind, okay? There's a high chance of Miyabi or Yanagi running on the 2.1. So depending if you're looking for these units, maybe it's better for you to just simply decide to skip Jifufu and Caesar and instead save your pulls for the 2.1. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Really hope these numbers could help you decide a little bit if Caesar and Jifufu are good options for your account. As I said, there's some things that is hard to showcase just on spreadsheet, and because of this I highly recommend you checking out Apel video, which once again I'm going to be leaving in the link down in the description. Check out, it's a 40-minute comparing a lot of different things, okay? Highly recommend you checking this one out, and let me know in the comments down below what are your plans when it comes to 2.0 second half units, because I am personally pulling Fufu, but I am skipping her signature engine. Probably I'm only going to get my skip 1 if I get a little bit lucky, but that's all. Okay, I'm not willing to wait until Trigger gets the rerun. I am not trying to pull Chin again. I lost 2 50-50s on Chin. Like, she simply hates me, I guess, but it is what it is. And Caesar, yes, I do own Caesar, but if I could refund a single unit, it would be Caesar, that's for sure. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.